What if I told you that the 10 plagues of Egypt weren't just punishments, but a spiritual war against the evil gods? What if the 10 plagues of Egypt weren't just random punishments? What if each one of them was a direct blow, meticulously orchestrated, against Egypt's most feared and revered gods? This is not just a story of liberation. It's an invisible war. A spiritual battle waged between the God of Israel and the occult entities that reigned over Egypt. A nation steeped in witchcraft, idolatry, and demonic power. A stage set by God himself. Egypt was not just an ancient superpower. It was an empire built on dark spiritual foundations. Its gods were in every aspect of life. The river Nile, the sun, animals, insects, the weather, and death. Each Egyptian god represented an area of spiritual influence. And when Moses stands up before Pharaoh with the divine command, "Let my people go," he is not just defying a king. He is declaring war on an empire of evil powers. Exodus 12 verse 12 gives us a key. "Against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord." With this declaration, God exposes his true goal, not only to deliver Israel, but to destroy Egypt's trust in its gods. Each plague was not chosen at random. They were targeted, surgical, devastating. Let's understand how. The spiritual symbolism of each plague. 1. Water in blood, a direct attack on Hapi, the god of the Nile, symbol of fertility and life. The god turns the river into death. 2. Frogs, a blow against Hecate, the fertility goddess with the head of a frog. The plague makes a mockery of this deity, bringing chaos to the image that once represented blessing. 3. Dust on mosquitoes, confrontation with Geb, god of the earth. The dust of the earth, transformed into torment, shows that even creation no longer obeys the Egyptian deities. 4. Flies, a judgment against Watchet, the protective goddess who used the fly as a symbol. Now, what was once a sign of protection has become a plague. 5. Animal plague, a blow against Apis and Hector, gods represented as sacred bulls and cows. Egypt's strength is reduced to rotting carcasses. 6. Ulcers, against the gods of medicine like Imhotep. Human knowledge and Egyptian divine healing fail before the touch of the God of Israel. 7. Rain of stones and fire, hail, an affront to Nut, goddess of the sky, Shu, of the air, and Set, of chaos and storms. Nature, once controlled by the gods, now obeys the God of Israel. 8. Locusts, a devastation that challenges Serapis, god protector of the harvest. Nothing can stop the destruction sent by God. 9. Thick darkness, a fatal blow to Ra, the god of the sun, the most powerful of all the Egyptian gods. 4. 3 days, Egypt experiences a spiritual silence. A void, an indescribable terror. Neither Ra, nor Pharaoh, nor his magicians can dispel the darkness. 10. Death of the firstborn, the final blow. Against Pharaoh, considered the son of the sun god, a living god. The son of the god himself dies. A direct attack on the heart of Egypt's spiritual power. Each plague unmasks an idol. Each blow is an act of judgment and also a silent preaching. There is no God but the Lord. The clash that takes place in Exodus is not just historical, but spiritual. The plagues were signs and wonders, but they were also weapons. Weapons of light against darkness. Of the true God against the pantheon of lies that enslaved a nation. Conclusion of the topic: an eternal war between invisible kingdoms. The Exodus is more than a physical liberation. It is a prophetic portrait of something much greater. Today, as then, many people live under the influence of false gods. Pride, money, power, pleasure. But just as God overcame in Egypt, he continues to reveal his sovereignty over all spiritual power. The plagues of Egypt are incontrovertible proof that no God, no empire, and no evil force can resist the power of the true God. The cry of the Hebrew people and the birth of Moses as a divine response. Imagine an entire generation living under the weight of invisible chains and spiritual shackles. They were slaves, not just to an earthly empire, but to a spiritual oppression that fed on their pain. He was born in a time of death, a time when Pharaoh's decree was clear: Every Hebrew child was to be murdered at birth. There was more than political fear behind this. There was evil spiritual influence, a plan to prevent the birth of the one who would free God's people. It was the same spirit of destruction that would act centuries later in Herod, when he tried to kill the Messiah. A child hidden from death, chosen for eternity. The baby Moses is hidden for 3 months, then placed in a basket and thrown into the waters of the Nile, the same river worshipped as a god in Egypt. But what was supposed to be the end becomes the beginning. God uses Pharaoh's own daughter, the enemy system, to protect and raise Israel's deliverer. This is spiritual warfare in its most subtle and powerful form. The enemy throne unknowingly nurtures the one who will bring about its downfall. Moses grows up in the palace, but he carries an eternal calling, an invisible seal from heaven. He is raised among the gods of Egypt, but he carries the presence of the living God within him. For years, nothing seems to happen. Moses runs away. He goes into the desert, and the people continue to suffer. But God's timing does not fail. In the burning bush, God calls Moses, not just as a deliverer, but as an instrument of judgment, as a spokesman for the Most High in a land dominated by spiritual entities. God says, "I have seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and I have heard their cry, for I have known their pain." Exodus 3 verse 7. The people's pain was not ignored. It was stored up in heaven, until the time was ripe to act. A message for today. How many times have you wondered if God has heard your cry? How many times does it seem that heaven is silent? But just as in Egypt, God hears. God sees. God remembers. The birth of Moses shows that God always prepares an answer even before the cry leaves his mouth. The answer may be born in silence, grow hidden, and seem distant, but at the right time, it will emerge like thunder, like fire burning in the bush, like a deliverer who destroys spiritual chains. Conclusion of the topic. The cry that activates heaven. The liberation of the Hebrew people begins with a cry. But it wasn't just a human cry. It was a covenant cry, a spiritual war cry, a prayer that made the heavens tremble. And the answer came in the most unlikely form. A baby in the throes of death, hidden from human eyes but protected by the hands of God. 3. The figure of Pharaoh as a representation of pride and spiritual resistance. At the heart of Egypt, there wasn't just a king. There was a symbol. Pharaoh was not just an earthly ruler. He was considered a god incarnate, a direct son of Ra, the sun god. His throne was more than political. It was spiritual. Pharaoh represented man's power at its peak, pride elevated to its purest form, and the personification of resistance against God. The ego that rises up against the eternal. From the beginning of the confrontations with Moses, Pharaoh reveals something much deeper than stubbornness. If this revelation has touched your heart, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this truth, and subscribe. Here, the Bible is revealed as you've never seen it before. Until the next mystery,